My friends, my dear friends, I hope you're listening. I hope this is a very nice Friday for you. And I say Friday because you might be listening to this broadcast anywhere in the world, any time of the day or night, any week, any day of the week. However, you know that we record all this information for Truth Be Told Radio Network that will broadcast this program every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and repeats the program every Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Truth Be Told Radio Network, and I am Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and I want to be with you probably for the next hour or so, talking about health and health maintenance and what we can do, what sort of care we have to give our bodies to have them strong and functional and just live happy. Better lifestyles, better health maintenance. But today I want to talk about a subject that is very important. And I'm going to say it in very few words. And I'm going to talk about it because that's something I have lived through. In a way, I'm going to be talking about my personal experience. And there are a couple of documents around there. There's a book that says lies doctors have told us. And there are other sorts of documents that go to part of what I want to tell you today. Part of what I want to talk about today. And that is how we came to believe things that are absolutely not true. They're blatant lies. And they were not that important if nothing would happen, but they have been affecting our life, our survival, our health condition, etc. They have become, in many ways, even, I could say, catastrophic for many people. And that is the lack of understanding that health begins from within. You heard it right. Your health, your well-being, your stamina, your good mood, your sleep, your productiveness, everything else, everything that revolves about your life comes from within. And I'm saying that because I have been looking at a number of situations lately, and by lately I should say the last 20 years, 30 years, where doctors and the medical world believed that we could control any disease, we could cure any disease, we could solve any problem, any health problem, and that you didn't have to do anything. You were going to have your cake and eat it too. You could have a lot of fun, you could do with your life whatever you wanted, you could eat whatever you loved, you could eat any quantity, you could do drugs or alcohol or you name it, and just have fun. Go to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning and get up at 6 and take a cup of coffee or some sort of pharmaceutical, because let's face it, caffeine or nicotine or alcohol, the fact that they're not illegal doesn't make them less of a drug. Why? Because they produce a number of problems, of health problems and addiction that it's part of drug behavior. So the fact that you can be in a reunion with friends and family, with your mother, with a can of beer in your hand, doesn't make it any better. You're drinking alcohol, which is a foreign substance to the body. The body can handle it, and through many, many generations, our bodies have learned to cope with alcohol. Our bodies never learned to deal with tobacco. With alcohol to some degree. And you can have a drink every now and then your whole life. Many people even abuse it, and probably without too many consequences. But nevertheless, there are drugs. You see, but they convinced us that we could do anything we wanted, because after all, if we got sick, a doctor, his prescription pad, and the pharmaceutical industry were there to take us out of the problem. You see, this is like when you sign a contract with someone and he says, oh, just sign here, and you say, but what about this clause that says that I should... No, don't pay attention. Of course, if there's any problem, no, I will not apply that to you. No, I will not do that to you. And then all of a sudden you have a problem, and then he tell you, but you signed it, but you told me no, but it's already in the paper. And it probably has happened to you sometime, probably not very important things, but you know that many times the promises that they're given to us will never be delivered. So, and that's one of the problems of the so-called modern medical world. When we discover antibiotics and we started defeating deadly diseases like tuberculosis, remember that tuberculosis was the biggest killer in the 19th century. But in the 20th century, we discovered antibiotics. We discovered what caused tuberculosis, and we were able to defeat it. It's still there, it still gives a lot of problems, but nevertheless, today is a disease you can get cured of. If you have tuberculosis and you follow the rules, you're going to be cured. Not controlled, not improved, but cured. There's going to be a day when you don't even think about tuberculosis anymore, you go on with your life and nothing happens. But that's not true for a lot of problems that we're seeing today. But nevertheless, all that situation made us so arrogant as to believe that I can do whatever I want because my doctor, his prescription pad, and my pharmacy will be there for me. And we started dropping a lot of health maintenance, health preventative measures that were part of humankind. People were very careful about how they lived. They were aware of the cold weather. They were aware of the hot weather. They were aware of certain animals or plants or anything that could harm us. And we instinctively work every day for a healthier, stronger body. I mean, it became, and it is still is, a sign of health, a beautiful, strong body. But that you have to create every day. In other words, you have to be working with your body every day to get what you want. But the medical world convinced us that no matter what, I could take care of you. And I have to confess, and I'm going to make a personal confession. I fell into the same trick. When I was a kid, I distinctly remember that every time you talk to a patient, the patient would tell you, and what about food, doctor? What about diet? What foods should I avoid? Simple example, the chicken soup, the chamomile tea. Simple remedies that were part of the way you fought disease. And I remember when I was a kid, my mother asking the doctor that question. What should I give the kid? What should I avoid? And when I became a doctor, I'm talking early 60s, 1960s, I remember that many patients after the consultation would ask me, doctor, is there some sort of a diet I have to follow? Is there some sort of regime I should do? And I remember smiling and say, don't worry, you can eat whatever you want. That doesn't change anything. And I believed it. That's why I tell you, it's a personal confession. But then, fast forward 2-3 decades, and then all of a sudden I started looking around myself, finding a lot of people that were very sick. Finding a lot of people that were dead at an untimely moment. They were in their 40s or 50s or 60s. When I was a kid, I come from a long-living family. My father died at 95, his mother at 93, one of his uncles was 99, his older brother was 102. So I'm used to see people that well into their 80s are working and traveling and having a good life. But then to me, seeing a person that dies at 60 or 65 or even 70, to me is an untimely death. And every time I went to see what happened, you find something they didn't do well or things they did wrong. Okay? And then I started thinking about it, reflecting about it, and I remember asking myself, you're part of this. You're convincing people that margarine is better than real butter. You convince these people that they can have a sugar substitute, an artificial sweetener, and there's not going to be any consequence. And you think you're helping because people can have their soda pop without the sugar. But you're doing a harm because you're exchanging a natural substance for a chemical. And you pay for it. And you were part of telling people that vegetable oils were good for you. So that an egg was an egg, doesn't matter if the hen was happy or free range or whatever. And all that situation really created a storm with problems and damages we live every single day. So make no mistake, it is your responsibility to stay healthy and to bounce back, to be resilient, to heal. Your doctors are not going to help you. Not if you don't do what I'm going to tell you about. So stay with me. My dear friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez, and today I'm talking about a problem which to me is a very important, very dear problem that talks about what are we doing for ourselves to maintain our health and to heal if we ever get any sort of a disease. And I've been telling you about the absolute problem that modern medicine has brought about. When we started convincing the people, we convinced ourselves first, and then we convinced people that you didn't really have to take care of yourself. You have a flu, you can go to the movies, just have this or that product. You want to go to a big party and come back home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and then get to work. Oh, I have drugs for you. And many of them are absolutely legal, like caffeine. And that way we started believing that we could have a very healthy body and still do whatever we wanted. That's just as absurd as if I tell you I'm going to give you a nice car, a very nice car. I mean, a Rolls Royce, a Cadillac, you name it. Pick your own. Don't think of money. Just say, this is the car I would love to have today. And then you take it out, and then you go to the beach, and you get on the sand, and then you get stuck in the sand, and then you have to push it and bring some sort of thing to pull it out of that, and sea salt came into the engine, and then you have sand inside the car, and then you go through the forest with branches and leaves and everything, and you scratch the paint, and then you're low on oil, but you don't have time. That's what you tell me. I don't have time to take it to the garage to fill back the thing, and you buy the cheapest fuel you can buy. Well, I don't have to tell you. I'm sure I don't have to convince you that in a short time you're going to have a piece of junk. And what your mother delivered, what God gave you, was a body that was made in perfection. Not only gave us our body, not only gave us our life, but gave us everything we need to be healthy. Because He told us, and I give you these plants and fruits and animals for your nourishment. See? But then we said, well, we have been living, because we have been living through many, many generations, taking care of ourselves, knowing that if we have a flu, we should stay home, knowing that if I have a gastrointestinal problem, I should do a very restrictive diet, knowing that if it's cold, I have to cover, knowing that I have to do physical exercise to keep my muscles in good shape, knowing a lot of things that are very common sense, knowing what to eat and what not to eat. But all of a sudden, in the middle of 20th century, we discovered some drugs that change a lot of things, namely antibiotics, and then we thought, oh, we can defeat any disease. And from that time on, every time you read about a disease, you name it, diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, every time you hear the medical community talking about a disease, what they're going to discuss is a drug. Oh, but you know, there's a pill now for this. Oh, they're developing a pill for that. Oh, now they have this pill that you put together with this. Well, everything would be fantastic if I'd be cured. But I will not be cured. And you can ask your doctor. You can say, doctor, okay, you gave me my high blood pressure medication because you want to help me, because you want to cure me, because you want me to get well. How long do I have to take my high blood pressure medication? And the doctor is going to tell you forever. In other words, he's not curing anything. He's helping you to control the problem so you don't die that soon. You're going to live longer, but you will have to be taking that medication for the rest of your life. And the same goes if you have heart disease. The same goes if you have thrombosis in your lower legs because of venous problems, venous return problem, and the same will happen if you have cancer, and the same will happen if you have heart disease. In other words, your doctor is going to tell you how he can help you to cope with the symptoms, how he can help you to make them less aggressive, and most importantly, less deadly. But the disease is with you till the end of your days. So where is the promise that medicine gave us only 75 years ago, that we could have a pill for every problem? Where is that promise? Nowhere. And no one would take responsibility for it. So what do we have to do? What we have to do is say, wait a minute. You're not delivering on your promise. You doctors, you medical world are not really delivering in your promise. So I have to go back and listen to my grandmother that told me a number of good ideas of how to be healthier in order to avoid disease. I have been the medical director of BioCare hospital for many years, many years. I'm talking about since the 1970s. And I have had the privilege of meeting doctors that gave me the same speech I'm giving you today. Say, well, come on, Rodrigo, if everything were so good, why do we see more people with cancer? Why are we seeing more people with diabetes? Why are we seeing more people with high blood pressure? Not only that, why are those people dying from those diseases if medicine is so good? There's something that doesn't click here. And the problem, I'm going to summarize it, going to try to summarize it, begins with the problem that we were convinced that we didn't have to do anything for our health care. That the doctor and the prescription pad would solve anything. But we were not given any responsibility whatsoever. And there's the beginning of the problem. If you're a young person, if you're a middle-aged person, if you're an older person, you have to review your lifestyle. You have to review your environment and start thinking that you had a God-given body that works very well, but nevertheless, just as a Rolls-Royce needs quality fuel, needs care, needs not abuse, needs loving care, in one word, needs attention. So when you start turning things around and say, okay, I'm going to work from my end, I'm going to work from my body, I'm going to work from within, I'm going to be a lot more successful. And I have seen patients, for example, with high blood pressure that go to the doctors, take the medication and so on. Nevertheless, they're swollen, they have this problem, they have the other problem. They come to BioCare, they come 10 days, they get rid of the inflammation, they get rid of the extra fluid and so forth. They go back home and all of a sudden they see they need a lot less medication. We might not have the absolute answer, but the amount of medication you're going to need is going to be lessened. And if you start early enough, you might not even get sick. That's why my message is for parents, for teachers. Because you have a child. You have a child that you say you love. You have a son, you have a daughter for which nothing is unimportant. It's a very important matter. It's the love of your life. Your son and your daughter. Yet, you're filling them with sugar. You're filling them with artificial sweeteners. You're filling them with artificial coloring, with chemicals, with food with no value. I would even hate to use the word food. We just want to fill them up. And of course, they're going to learn that way. So when they grow older, they will not have a nice piece of fish. They were going to have a chicken nugget. The worst quality chicken possible in the wrong fat with flour. That's what those things are. Because you're not talking of a free-range happy hen that moves around and provides you very good quality. You know, a chick that's born in those type of farm environments will probably take, I would say, 18 weeks, 25 weeks before it gets to the table. But the one you buy on some of these industrial places where they produce, mass-produce chicken, that might be as short as 8 weeks. So we have to be careful. We have to begin somewhere. We have to sit together. That's the best idea. Get your family together. Sit with all of them. Get your school children together. Sit with all of them and talk about it. and just get ideas. You're going to be surprised. A 10-year-old could give you a very good idea about how to eat healthier, how to be healthier. What about an exercise program? What about if we go out and then we run and we play and we push a little bit more for sports and physical activity, particularly in these days where one extra problem we're seeing is sedentarism. Because all we do is sit at the phone. You look at people and they have a phone in their hands with a screen. So they don't have to move, they don't have to go anywhere. You can do anything from your phone. See? And I'm waiting to see when you're going to have a phone that mows the lawn. Because we want gadgets to do everything. But you were given a life to live it. And living a life is working for it. And living a life is taking care of it. And living a life is being very proactive in self-care and being conscientious of what our body needs to prevent disease. And if you're sick, get this very clear, to fight it from within. Dear friends, I'm Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez. I'm coming to you through the courtesy of Truth Be Told Radio Network. But you can also follow me, and I really would love if you follow me, if you give me likes on the platform of your choice, social media of your choice, because we are Facebook, in Instagram, in Twitter. We have our own channel in YouTube where you can listen to a lot of things. And many of these conversations, actually over 100 hours of conversations like this, you're going to be able to listen if you just search for Truth Be Told Radio Network on Spotify. And then you can listen to these broadcasts as you drive to work, as you drive on the weekend. You can get together with people and say, hey, I heard this, I think we should share it. Because I was telling you that one of the best ways to begin taking care of yourself is, of course, being conscientious about everything you can do for your own body, everything you can do for your own health, but also get the family involved. So if you all get together, for example, on the weekend or on any nice day, and you sit and have a cup of tea and start talking, and then you make you just drop all the ideas that you have. Children and your grandmother or anyone else can give you, just create a brainstorm session where you say, you know what, I want you to listen to this because I want you to know what you think. Because next year, I want to get a motorhome and go to Yosemite National Park. And we're going to drive from South Carolina cross country on a motorhome. But to do that, I have to be healthy. I have to be strong. And I want you to jump and run and enjoy that trip. And in order to do it, we have to be healthier. And after your brainstorm, with all those ideas in the hand, open the pantry, open the fridge, go to the garage and see what sort of foods you have there. And you can say, okay, that energy drink doesn't belong to this house. That artificial sweetener thing doesn't belong with us. That food we have in that fridge goes out. Those packed foods that we have in the pantry go out. We need to do something. We need to go to farmers market. We have to start consuming natural foods, fresh, local. And if you engage your children into this, they're going to be very receptive. But if you only feed them with pizza, chips, and any sort of fried cheap food, they're going to love it. They're going to learn to like it. And you know what? I don't want to be pessimistic, but I have seen many parents mourning a child because they didn't know how to take care of them. Taking care of a son, taking care of a daughter doesn't mean to give them what they want. I had a very good friend of mine who had a very nice family, and she always said it. She always told me, the easiest thing to do is to say yes to a child. The most difficult, to say no. And to say no in a way that your son or daughter are going to understand that you're doing it because you love them. Not because you're bitter or you're being difficult. No, because you love them. So you're going to say, no, this is not really for you. Because I want you to grow healthy and smart and loving. Because being loving is part of the mood, is part of your emotional health that comes from good nutrition and good body performance. So everything goes together. Now, BioCare is a place where we see many patients with cancer. Cancer, let me put it in these words, I always say, it's really a very bad situation, even in the best cases. Because if nothing else, just the fact that someone told you one day that you had cancer, that's going to change your life forever. So even if you didn't have any problem, even if you went through it very successful, even what, it is going to mark your life forever. And unfortunately, many people that have cancer die from cancer. And you say, doctor, I have a cancer. This is a very serious disease. My doctors are very worried. I think I'm going to go to Mayo Clinic or I'm going to go to Sloan Kettering. I'm going to see what they do. Well, let me tell you, many people still die in those places. But there's something you can do, which is get in your body all the resources your body needs to fight from within. Cancer, in a way, is an immunological disorder. We have abnormal cells that will not be easily recognized when the immune system goes around. Now let me tell you something, talking about the immune system. There is a very important group of cells, we call that cellular immunity, that are very helpful to fight off cancer, to defeat cancer, but also viruses. People with very good activity of this cellular immunity are the ones that are doing a lot better during the COVID epidemics. And these white cells, they're white cells of the blood, are a different type of cell that we call T cells. T cells have the ability to recognize non-self material, like the virus or like the abnormal cancer cell. And they're able to go after it and defeat it. That's how important these T cells. So let's say that you live in a community and you have a police force that's very effective, very professional, very good. I think I would say 99% of these people in the police forces are top people. And I'm very grateful for them. But what can they do if you don't give them a gun, if you don't give them a patrol car, if you don't give them a uniform, if you don't take care of them so they can take care of their families? You see, we can only ask so much, and that will demand from us to give them something so they can do what they know how to do. And these T lymphocytes, as good as they are, they need support. They need fuel. They need a lot of things. And now with all these epidemics, we have discovered, for example, that vitamin D, D as in David, vitamin D3, is very important to keep T lymphocytes in good shape. You don't have sunlight, you don't have vitamin D, you don't eat your greens, you don't have good lymphocytes. And if you don't have good lymphocytes, your chances of defeating a cancer are going to be diminished. Your chances of defeating an infectious disease are going to be diminished. So, for something as simple as sunlight exposure, you are risking not being able to cope with the disease. The doctor, the pharmacy, the chemotherapy, the everything is going to do only so much, but it needs our immune system to do the job. And we don't eat well, we don't do any physical activity, we don't get our vitamin D, etc. Now let me tell you something, and this is a good time of the year because I felt very comfortable talking about vitamin D and say you have to supplement it. And I still say you have to supplement vitamin D. Next time you go to the doctor, tell your doctor to please check the vitamin D level in the blood. It's very simple, it's very inexpensive, just like hemoglobin, just like sodium, just like any other marker. You can say, doctor, I want to know what the level of vitamin D in my body is because I want a good level. You see, you can do that. But as good as that is, if you're low, you supplement, sunlight produces a quality of vitamin D that's second to none. So you still have to do your green vegetables because the precursor for vitamin D is the dark green leafy vegetables, like spinach, like chard, like artichoke, like broccoli. So when you eat all those things and then you get some sunlight, you're going to have top vitamin D. Very effective, very active. Still, have your levels checked. Still, supplement if you're low. But go for your veggies and go for the sunlight. And that's going to give you a very good immune system. One of the reasons why we see so many problems today is because we literally live indoors. We go from our house to our car to our office. Where is the sunlight? And we eat a lot of food that's not really food, let alone broccoli or artichokes or chard or spinach. We don't really eat them that much. When we eat vegetables, and people tell me, patients tell me, oh, I have a nice salad. What's a nice salad? Lettuce? Lettuce is the worst of the vegetables you can eat, because it doesn't even have fiber. If you want to do something like that, so simple, do arugula. And you know that arugula is not a form of lettuce? It's actually a cruciferous. It's a relative to broccoli, not to lettuce. That's why arugula is so good. So there are many ways that you can help yourself just by reading, just by getting information. So I want you to follow me. I want you to click on the social media of your choice and say, I'm going to follow Dr. Rodrigo Rodriguez. I'm going to follow BioCare. I'm going to listen to these things, not because I'm going to do everything, but because it might give you good ideas of how to fight in the future. Because number one, I want to avoid getting any of these chronic, inflammatory, self-promoted diseases and heal back. And if worse comes to worse and I come down with a diagnosis that is going to need any of these protocols of medication and so on, I want it to be as late in my life as possible and as light in symptoms as possible. And we can do that. Stay with me. My friends, this is Dr. Rodriguez, and today I have been talking about fighting from within. Any health problem you might have. Could be an infection, could be a cancer, could be high blood pressure, could be diabetes, or just because you want to be healthier. You want better performance. You want to sleep better. You want to function better. You want your emotions to be more controlled. What can we do? And I tell you that one of the big problems of the second half of the 20th century, let's say from 1950 to the year 2000, and whatever we have of this century, we have neglected our care because somehow we were convinced that doctors knew how to deal with anything just with the power of their prescription pad. But now we know that's not true. Number one, we know that we have a lot of deadly diseases, like cancer, like diabetes, like Alzheimer's. And worse is that they don't come from a foreign agent. They're not an epidemic because somebody came with Alzheimer's and kissed my cheek, or I shook hands with somebody that had diabetes. No, I promoted it. I created my disease. I created a disease that's not going to go away anytime soon. Actually, if things go according to the letter as we know it today, I'm going to die with that disease, or I'm going to die because of that disease. But you don't have to have it. Center for Disease Control in Atlanta tells me that 40% of some of the worst diseases we have today, some of the ones I have just mentioned, are preventable by lifestyle changes. So that's what I want to tell you about. Now, we deal with cancer. We have been fighting cancer for many years, for decades. And we have some results that I absolutely love. And I'm not telling you don't do this, don't do that. I'm telling you, do whatever you want to do whatever your doctors advise you, but you have to pitch in. You have to be part of the answer. Because we learned to have, in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, we learned to just relax, sit, and put our arms so they can take blood, so they can give us a drug, so they can take the pills according to the prescription. That is the way we, as individuals, were approaching medical care. It's up to the doctor. And you say, what my doctor told me. You do this? No, because my doctor didn't tell me. Are you sure you can keep on smoking? Oh, he didn't mention smoke. Are you sure you can eat this? Well, I asked him what should I eat, and he told me whatever. You see? So we don't do anything ourselves, and then we blame the doctor. Yeah, the doctor might have told me to eat whatever, but I should know better. And if I don't know better, it's time to start learning. Because the reports that we're getting in the medical literature, the most respectable literature, I'm not making this up. See, I don't want to alarm you. I want to help you. And all this has been reported. As I was telling you, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. That at least gives me a relief because I say, well, somebody at a very high government level is now talking about prevention. It used to be the CDC. Now is the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And that's what we should be working for. Well, that preventive activity or proactiveness is going to help us a lot if we have the disease. So we treat people with cancer, and they have had this or that therapy, this or that surgery, this or that program. But when they come with us, we start working on other areas. We start working from within. We fight inflammatory markers. We don't want your body to be inflamed because there are very important reports that tells me that if your inflammation is high, chemotherapy will not work. So you're taking a medication that's very strong, very expensive, and it's to no avail because your body cannot take full advantage of it because you're inflamed. And you're inflamed because you eat the wrong things, because you don't have physical activity, etc. So when you start making all these changes, our patients start improving and feel a lot better. There are a lot of reports that say that I know the first time I saw it, I said, oh my God, have to review it. When you see a patient with cancer, all you want to do is ask him to sit down, to lay down. Don't do that. Help them to move. Because it's been reported that people with cancer that have good activity levels live longer. And once again, I'm talking about the medical literature. Right now with the computers and internet and so forth, you can go and see cancer and physical activity, cancer and food, cancer and diet, cancer and fats, cancer and whatever. And you're going to read and you're going to learn a lot of very simple strategies that are going to be very helpful. I had a patient with cancer, and her daughter is one of the best physicians in town. She used to look after Mother Teresa every time she was around. She was flown to India to look at her. But her mother developed cancer. And one day, talking with the mother, with the patient, I could see her face. I could see that she was suffering. I could see that she wasn't doing well. And she started telling me that she was always nauseated, that she didn't have any energy, that she didn't feel good, etc. And I told him, I'd like to give you a couple of ideas of things you can do that are going to improve all that. You know what she did? She took my hand and she says, take me to your office and tell me what you can do. Then we started talking. I told her a number of things that we could do about, like, for example, enemas, control of the gastrointestinal flora, recovery of that flora, because it's very important, targeted nutrition, certain things like magnesium, like vitamin D, like vitamin C, raise the levels so the body can fight back. And we started doing all these things for her. And not only her daughter is a brilliant physician, but she owns a hospital. And I told her, I can talk to your staff and tell them what they should do. She says, no, I'm going to do it at BioCare. And then she started feeling better, doing better, functioning better. And one day I have this very famous doctor coming my way, and she says, I want to talk to you. Well, she's a very respectful doctor, and I've been treating her mother without ever telling her what we're doing. And then she said, I just came to thank you. Because in a long time, my mother didn't eat well, didn't feel well, she was all depressed, and all of a sudden I see her changing. See a much better mood, and telling me, like, you know what, it's been a long time since you prepared this food. It's been a long time since we ate that other thing. And she says, and I was delighted to see that she was coming out of it. And one day I told her, come on, you're doing something. She says, well, every time you travel, I go to BioCare. And she says, I have to commend you for the results, and I came to thank you. And you can do it. You can do it for you. You can do it for the people that you love. You can say, let's read a little bit about this. Let's ask questions. Let's see where you can help. But you can go to the social media of your choice and follow me. And click on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and ask a question. You can say, Doctor, my mother, my spouse has cancer, has this thing, is very nauseated, cannot move, has these symptoms, and I'm going to be very happy to guide you. I'll be very happy to help you. All I want you to do is give me a like, follow me, and ask your questions. I'm going to tell you what I say repeatedly. You're going to get tired of asking questions before I get tired of answering them. To me, this is my quest. To help you, to guide you, to inspire you to do things you probably have not done in a long time or you never thought of them. That's what BioCare is. So, cancer patients, for example, come to BioCare for 3 weeks' time. Why 3 weeks? Because that's about the cycle of the cancer cell. So by the time you go, we have had a whole generation replacement of cells. So we're trying to make the changes you need to conquer the disease. You're going to need less medication. Your medication is going to be a lot more effective. And I have had, in this case, I was mentioning the mother of a very good physician, but I have had very good doctors coming this way that learned a lot of things and that got very, very good results. You can go to our channel in YouTube and see testimonials of people with very serious problems that tell you their story. That's what I want you to do. I want you to educate yourself, to get information, to ask questions, to follow me. I'm here for you. Believe me, it's going to cost you nothing. I'm going to tell you what we can do. And if need be that you come to BioCare, I can say it very proudly. I'm going to be very happy because I know we can do a lot of things, that we can help a lot, and that you're going to be delighted. The most common comment I get when people come with any of these serious diseases is, I wish I would have done it earlier. Because I can feel the difference, I can tell the difference, I know I did the right thing. So please, think of it. Get your brainstorm meeting at home. Ask your questions, and I'll be next week with you.